Over the centuries, scattered reports told of Jewish tribes living beyond the mythical Sambatyon River, of a remote African land inhabited by the 10 lost tribes of Israel.
Let's go to Isaiah 8.
Isaiah 8, what verse?
Go to Isaiah 8 and let me get there real quick. Isaiah 8. Read verse, we're going to read verse 6 through 14.
Okay, inasmuch as, Isaiah chapter 8, verse 6, starting at verse 6. Inasmuch as these people refuse the waters of Shiloh that flow softly and rejoice in Rezin and in Remeliah's son. Verse 7. Now therefore, behold, Yah brings up over them the waters of the river, strong and mighty, the king of Assyria, and all the glory. He will go up over all his channels and go over all his banks.
It says, let me stop you right there, brother. It says that the king of Assyria will go over the channels and over the banks, meaning over the rivers. Read verse 8.
Verse 8. He will pass through Judah. He will overflow and pass over. He will reach up to the neck and stretcheth out of his wings will fill the breath of your land, O Emmanuel.
Stop right there. Verse 8 says that the king. Well, I hear some noise in the background. Sound like some kind of.
Somebody to get off the noise in the background.
I hear sound like some kind of circuit or something. I don't know what it is.
Everybody, I think this maybe Taquan. Get your phone out. I'm gonna share mute Taquan.
Nah, I'm
yeah,
muted already, family.
Okay, but who is that? Look at him.
I don't hear it now.
That's the brother with the eight. I can't see his name there.
That's a liar. I just liar. That's you out. Cause I just muted your phone and went away. Hold on, let me do it again. Yeah, that's a liar.
Yeah, I don't hear it now. I don't hear it. Okay, so Isaiah 8, it says one more time that the king of Assyria, he shall pass through Judah. Why did he pass through Judah? What tribe was located within the territory of Judah? Simeon. They took the tribe of Simeon also. The Assyrians took the tribe of Simeon. So God put it on the spirit of the king of Assyria to go through Judah just to get Simeon.
Right.
It says, and he shall pass through Judah, and he shall overflow and go, and shall reach even to the neck, right, etc. Now, let's go to 2 Kings 18 real quick. I just want to show you that it clearly says he passed through Judah. Why would he pass through Judah? Because we just read that Judah was the only tribe they did not take. Because he went and got many Jews from Simeon. That's why. Let's go to, because Simeon was part of Israel, right? Even though Simeon was located within Judah, Simeon was not part of Judah or the kingdom of Judah. Let's go to 2 Kings real quick. 2 Kings. When you get to 2 Kings, I hear that noise again, man.
It says 2 Kings 18.
Yeah, 2 Kings 18. Verse 13.
Yeah, that's a liar. A liar. Something going on with your mic. It's making noise.
Yeah, I don't hear it now. I don't hear it.
Go ahead, Qanath.
Yeah, 2 Kings. 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 13. Are you there?
Con, you on 2 Kings chapter 18 and verse 13?
Yes, sir.
Now in the 14th year of the king of Hezekiah, did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them.
Right. Now, so because Benjamin were already taken. Remember, Benjamin was already taken. That's why it says he went down and took Judah. Right? Went down and took Judah because Benjamin was already taken. Now let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 8. That's why in the book of Hosea, God says to Benjamin to look behind you and the Levites, because he said he's warning them that the Assyrians is going to come down and also take them into captivity along with Levi. Let's go to Isaiah 8. When you get to Isaiah 8, let's start at verse 11.
Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 11. The Lord spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the ways of this people, saying, say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say, a confederacy, neither fear ye the fear, nor be afraid. Therefore, nor be afraid.
Verse 13.
Verse 13. Sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread.
Verse 14.
And Salaki, verse 18 of Isaiah 8. And he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Stop right there. Now, folks, I want you guys to hear me very carefully. I'm going to read it one more time. I'm going to show you guys something. This is going to prove even further that the king of Assyria took many Benjamites among the tribes. It says, and he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone or stumbling block. This is also a dual prophecy talking about none other than the Messiah. He shall be a stumbling block and a rock of offense, talking about the Messiah. It says, to the house of Israel, for a gin and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. The inhabitants of Jerusalem. So this is telling you that the Assyrians is going to come down and conquer Israel and Benjamin. It says the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Do me a favor. Go to Joshua 18. Hold your spot right there. Hold Isaiah 8. Let's go to Joshua chapter 18. Let's see where Jerusalem was located. Joshua 18. When you get to 18, right? Read verse 11.
Joshua chapter 18 and verse 11. And the lot of the tribe of the children of Benjamin came up according to their families, and the coast of their lot came forth between the children of Judah and the children of Joseph.
Stop right there. So this is the territory of Benjamin. Read, now let's see where Jerusalem was located. Read verse 28.
Of Joshua.
Yes, sir.
18, Joshua
verse 28.
Joshua chapter 18, verse 28. In Zalah, Elapah, and Jebesi, which is Jerusalem.
Which is who?
Which is
Jerusalem. So Jerusalem was located within the territory of Benjamin. Now let's go back.
Right.
That's why it also says, dealing with Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy 33rd chapter, it said that Benjamin shall be protected. The reason why Benjamin shall dwell in safety is because Jerusalem was located within the territory of Benjamin. That's why God says Benjamin shall dwell in safety. His sanctuary, the temple, was located within the territory of Benjamin. Let's go back to Isaiah 8. So we proved already Levi and Benjamin went into captivity among the 10 tribes, but we're going to continue. We're going to show you where the 10 tribes went. Read verse 15. When you get back to Isaiah 8, read verse 15.
Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 15. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken.
And be what?
And be taken.
And say it one more time.
And be taken.
And be taken. Be taken by who? Go back to verse 7. Read verse 7. Back up to verse 7. Let's see who it was taken by. Benjamin and the children of Israel. Read verse 7.
Verse 7. Now therefore, behold, the Lord bringeth up upon them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria, and his glory, and all his glory. And he shall come up over all his channels, and go over all his banks.
It says that he shall go over all his channels and all his banks, and go right down and get the quote-unquote the tribe of Israel. And then it says in verse 8, he shall pass through Judah. He's not even going to touch Judah. He left Judah alone. He went right down through Judah and got Simeon. Go back one more time. Go back to verse 15 one more time.
Verse 15. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken.
And be taken. And when you drop back up to verse 14, it says both houses of Israel. Verse 14. Both houses of Israel, meaning Judah and Benjamin. But they didn't take Judah. They took Benjamin. Because remember, Benjamin was part of the house of Judah. That's why it says the king of Assyria took both houses. He took Benjamin and the nation of Israel and the Levites. We just proved it. Benjamin and Levi were among the 10 tribes. Anybody want to say something as we continue?
No, go ahead. Hey, so go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is a deep throat cut. Like, you know how you pass through when they cut the lamb.
Yeah.
This is over. It's done. It's finished. You ain't even need second measures.
You don't need second measures. We don't even need second measures. But guess what? We're gonna continue anyway.
Right. You don't even need second measures no more.
Nope.
There's no debate. Those who you say the Israelites that was over here, they're not Israel.
Nope.
It's
over.
Yeah.
It's done. It's finished. I guarantee you, all they want to do is run their mouth off track. But they won't rebuttal nothing what's put out today. They won't rebuttal nothing. They want to be quiet and shut up. But y'all want to talk about the Most High with Qanath. Y'all is ridiculously stupid. But they won't rebuttal Hosea 7 and 8. They ain't rebuttal the second address. Ships can't go down the Euphrates and Tigris. They never found the boats they claimed they came over here with. You showed them the vessels they had, and these guys are still believers of a 12-tribe chart. This is why the Lord said He put the spirit of blindness on these dudes. If you can't see this is crazy. I mean, now we just don't believe the Bible.
But guess what? It's gonna get even better. Shoshan, real quick before I start. I want you to show this. We're gonna show this map right here. But go back. I included with this map some very vital information. Go through the slides. I want to show you. Now that I keep going, I'll tell you when to stop. No, I'll tell you when to stop. It's very vital information. That's why I sent it to Qanath White also. Go back. Yeah, right there. Okay, keep it right there. So basically, Shawsham, I'm going to read this, and we're going to go back to that map that you just showed. But now let's go to Second Esdras. Let's go to Second Esdras.
So
we proved that Levi and Benjamin were among the tribes. It's over.
Right.
Ain't no more debate.
This guy was talking for it. What's his name, man? He went up. Doug, you're finished. You are not an Israelite. You are a sojourner. And be happy. You're not in Israel. You're not a flesh and blood Israelite. I'm sorry. Y'all, it's done. You are a sojourner.
Let's go.
Yeah, Second Esdras 13, somebody read verse 46, and we're going to read 47. Keep it right there, Shawsham. 2nd Esdras 13, verse 46 and 47.
Right. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 13, verse 46. Then dwelt they there unto the latter time. And now when they shall begin to come, 47, the highest shall stay the springs of the streams again, that they may go through. Therefore, sowest thou the multitude with peace.
It says they're gonna stay wherever they migrated. They're gonna stay for a number of years, and then they're gonna return. They're gonna return. Why did they return? They had to return to receive the gospel of Christ. But let's go to Isaiah 11. Hold that, Shawsham. Let's go. I'm gonna show you guys something. Let's go to Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11. Now, I heard many people say Isaiah 11 is a future prophecy. No. This is the second gathering. This is talking about during the time of Zerubbabel, Ezra, Nehemiah. The third and final gathering is in Ezekiel, when Christ returned all 12 tribes back to the homeland. Excuse me, that is the final gathering. So verse 11, read verse 15. Somebody read verse 15. Isaiah 11, verse 15.
Isaiah 11 and verse 15 reads, and Yah will utterly destroy the tongue of the sea of Egypt. With his mighty wind, he will take his fist over the river and strike it in.
Hey, I still hear that. I still hear noise, man. What is that noise?
Hold on. Hey, you can't take this down. I'm gonna read it for you. This Isaiah 11 and verse. What verse you say? 15.
Verse 15.
Okay, this is Isaiah 11:15. The Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian. And with his mighty wind shall he shake his hands over the river, and shall smite it in the 7 streams, and make men go over dry shod.
He should strike the river in how many streams? Qanath.
7.
7 streams. Somebody do me a favor. Read verse 11. Verse 11. Hold that, Shawsham. Somebody read verse 11. Isaiah 11, verse 11.
It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Petros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea.
Right. Now jump back. I'm going to jump back and read verse 15. And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. I'm going to show you folks what direction the Jews within the 10 tribes came back. When it says in 2nd Esdras, that God is going to hold the stream a second time. It says, and the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind he shall he shake his hand over the river. What river? You're going to see, and shall smite it into how many streams, Qanath?
7.
7 streams, and make men go over on dry ground. Now, right here, you folks can see on the screen where Shawsham had. I'm gonna read it. In fact, Shawsham, before I read it, go back to that map one more time. Excuse me. Go back to that map.
Okay. You want
And then we're gonna go back here. Go back to that map. I want to show people something. I'll let you know when to stop. Right there. Blow it up. Blow that right there. Blow that up. Okay. Folks, you see this area here? This is just by the Mediterranean Sea. This is the delta of Egypt. You see the 7 streams right there? 7 streams. Just like it says in Isaiah 11. Now go back to what I want to read, Shawshan.
Okay.
Let's read and see what it says about the delta. Let's read and see what it says about the delta in Egypt. Let's read and see what it says.
Notice that map you just showed, it looks like a tongue.
Exactly. And thank you. Now watch this. Look what it says here, folks.
Why is it the same ancient Hebrew carved into the side of it? Because this is the Decalogue stone that they also found. And once again, they find this in North America. They find this in South America.
Right.
They find this all over the place. Next slide. Next slide. Why is it the same ancient Hebrew carved into the side of it? Because this is the Decalogue stone that they also found. And once again, they find this in North America. They find this in South America.
Right.
They find this all over the place. Next.
During the height of the Songhai, Mali, Ghana, and Kanem-Bornu empires, according to accounts from explorers of the region, several powerful Jewish families of the Songhai Empire were of Jewish origin. Some accounts place West African Jewish communities in the Andu Forest of Dahomey, south of Timbuktu. In the 1930s, these groups still maintained a Torah scroll written in Aramaic that had been burned into parchment with a hot iron instead of ink so it could not be changed. In the 1930s, the historians went over there and still found Israelites over there that didn't get captured in the slave trade, still practicing the Hebraic faith, still knowing who they were. With a Torah, which is the first 5 books of Moses, written in Aramaic.
In the Nile Delta, the river splits into a number of distributaries and lesser channels. In ancient times, it says ancient times, there were 7 distributaries.
Finish.
Showing you what direction the 10 tribes was coming back from. God made these 7 distributaries so the Jews could return with ease, going back up to the land. They returned from West Africa. They returned from West. I mean to cut off real quick, Qanath. They returned from West Africa through Egypt. God made these 7 streams so they can pass through easy.
It's over. It's done. It's finished.
And that goes to 2 Ezra 13:47. The highest is the streams of the springs again.
Again. But we're gonna continue, Qanath. I got many, much more.
This is a Mike Tyson knockout. You know, one of them ones when he be 30 seconds in the ring and this is over.
Right.
This is done. Burn the chart. Burn it. You gotta throw it in the garbage.
Hey, Qanath, what did that map look like again, Qanath? It looked like a tongue, right?
It looked just like a tongue. Go back to it, Shem.
Go back.
That part where it say tongue.
I bet you they won't rebuttal it. Look at that.
It says,
That's the brown part.
I'm going to read it. I read it real quick. And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea and strike it into 7 streams. And I just read and showed you that the 7 streams, it says from ancient times. And make men go over dry shod. This is what it says in 2 Esdras, when they shall return again. This is what it's talking about right here.
It's over. It's done. I mean,
I want to see all the people want to comment on about me. Come to comment about this.
But we're going to continue. We got much more. Let's go to Zephaniah. Let's go to Zephaniah 3:10. Zephaniah. Excuse me. Hold on for a second. Let me get a bottle of water real quick. Let's go to Zephaniah 3.
They're gonna need some strong liquor after this.
We're going to see who fear God and who's black devils and who not. Who's going to repent after tonight? Who's going to swallow their pride and admit they was wrong? We're going to see. We're going to see after tonight. Go ahead.
Yehuda, they love reading that scripture. I have dreamed. So who they believe in, the dream of Ariah, or they going to believe what the scripture has said?
Exactly. You're 100% correct, Qanath. Zephaniah 3. Let's read Zephaniah 3, let's go to, let's start at verse 10. In fact, and start at verse 9. Verse 9. Whoever get there first. And we're going to go to the book of Baruch. All this is going to line up. We're going to go to the book of Baruch also. Second Esdras, what I just read in Isaiah 11, that's the second return. The final return is when Christ is going to return all 12 tribes, mentioned in Ezekiel 39 and Ezekiel chapter 40. That's going to be the third and final return. Isaiah 11, that happened already. That happened with Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah. Zephaniah 3, somebody read verse 9 and 10. Yeah, 9 and 10.
Why? Zephaniah 3, verse 9 and 10.
For
them will I turn to the people a pure language.
Right.
They may all call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, I supplement even the daughters of my diaspora shall bring my offering.
So bring mine offering, meaning when they went up to the temple, right, they brought their offerings. What were the offerings? The sheep, the goats, etc., to sacrifice to the Levites. They brought up the offerings, and I also have the writings. I have the writings of Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate said that every year thousands of Jews came up from Asia. He said Asia Minor, and he said from Africa every year to the high holy days. And he said especially year.
You was breaking up a little bit.
What about now? Can you hear me? Yeah.
You broke up a little bit. Yeah, you broke up a little bit.
I was having some problems. I was having some problems, but that's okay. I have a new laptop. It's coming by next week. I'm using my phone, but that's okay. Next week I have my new laptop, Qanath, so we'll be ready to go. Okay, what I was saying that Pontius Pilate said, I had the writers of Pontius Pilate. He said that every year thousands of Jews come up from the Asia Minor, and they came up from Africa every year to the Passover and the high holy days. So when it says they're going to bring their offerings, it's talking about they brought their sheep, they brought their whatever, the sacrifice to the Levites. That's what I mean when it says their offerings. That's what it's talking about. But now we know that they were scattered beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, which is Africa, all in West Africa. And what country did they have to go through to get back up to Jerusalem, to the Passover and the high holy days? They had to go through Egypt. That's why God said, I'm going to make the 7 streams so they can go through without any trouble.
How about that?
I tell you, brother. Here's the thing. When we bring out stuff like this, you'll get people on the comment board, that's false. You know me, that's because there's no comeback. They won't bring their ass on, they won't come on to speak on it, and then they're afraid to show their face.
Right.
Every single one. Wait up.
Read verse 19 and 20. Zephaniah 3, verse 19 and 20.
Okay. 19. Behold, at that time will I undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her halted, and gather her that was driven out, and I will give them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame.
It says I would gather them that was driven out. That was driven. Keep those words in your mind, because I'm going to show you guys something. That was driven out. Read verse 20.
Verse 20. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you, for I will make you a name and praise of all people of the earth. When I turn back your captivity before your eyes, says the Most High.
It says that he will bring them what? Even in the time that I will gather you, he says again, right? He says, at that time will I bring you again, a second time. Isaiah 11:11, God says the second time. That's the second gathering. The first gathering is when Moses led the Jews out of the wilderness or through the wilderness, and Joshua continued to lead the people to the promised land. That was the first time. So this backs up Isaiah 11. God says, at that time will I bring you again, just as it says in Isaiah 11. He said the second time. Let's go to Baruch 5. Baruch. Let's go to the scribe Baruch, who was a student, as we all know, of Jeremiah.
They brought up the
Baruch
5 what?
Baruch 5 and 5. Let me get there real quick. We're gonna go to Baruch 5.
And while you getting there, let me make this comment real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Getting there. We are not out to belittle anyone, right? For you have been taught false doctrine. If you don't believe what's being taught, then come on and speak about it on the bucket. But I saw a video today that said a brother of mine actually said the Most High is with Psalm.
You see that?
But let's get
the Most High is with the black devil who don't even believe in the same God you believe in.
right.
But the Most High is with him.
Yep.
It's comical, man. Baruch 5, right? Read verse 5. Baruch 5. Start at chapter. Baruch chapter 5. Start at verse 5.
Baruch chapter 5 and verse 5. Arise, O Jerusalem, and stand on high, and look about towards the east. And behold, thy children gathered from the west unto the east by the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the remembrance of God.
It says that they gathered from the west. When you look at a map, an old map, Babylon was east of Jerusalem. So if Babylon was east of Jerusalem, then what was west? No, what I'm saying in Baruch 5, it says gather from the west, right? You guys can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when you look at an old map, no, that's not the map I want. When you look at an old map, you will see that Babylon was east of Jerusalem. So if Babylon was east of Jerusalem, then what was west? When God says he's going to gather them from the west. You can leave that map up right there too. Leave that up too. It says from the west. The west was talking about Africa.
Yep.
That's what Baruch is talking about. I'm going to prove it, right? So it says, read verse 6, Baruch 5 and 6.
Baruch chapter 5 and verse 5 and 6.
No, verse 6, just verse 6. Verse 6.
Verse 6. For they departed from thee on foot, and were led away of their enemies. But God bringeth them unto thee, exalted with glory. As
Stop.
The children of the kingdom. Okay.
Stop right there. The children of the kingdom. Now, I want you folks to think about this real good now. Use your brains. Verse 5 clearly says that God is going to gather them from the west. But verse 6 says, for they departed from thee on foot when they was led to captivity. So how could they return from the west if they was led into captivity and taken to Assyria and Babylon on foot? How did they return from the west, though? How did they return from the west? This is talking about the same Jews that was taken to captivity on foot in verse 6. These are the same Jews that returned in verse 5 from Africa, that escaped the Assyrian captivity during the Civil War.
On foot. On foot.
They was taken in captivity on foot in verse 6. In verse 5, God said he's going to gather them from the west, showing you where the 10 tribes went and migrated when they left Assyria.
No, that's not true. They took boats and went across the land. They dragged the boats across the land. dragged the boats across the land and left the lines in the mud.
Hell no.
Hey, but Yehuda, I got a question.
Shasha, stop laughing, man. You got my side hurting, man. Stop laughing. Oh God, man. This Shasha start laughing, man. I gotta laugh too, man. Oh my God.
I got a question though. Real talk. Now I noticed they don't talk too much about the tribe of Dan when it comes down to that chart. So could you give an explanation on why?
Dan, yes. Yeah. The reason why Dan wasn't mentioned among the tribes is because when you look at the history, Dan had migrated long before the Assyrian captivity. They had already went to Africa. Dan was already in Ethiopia. They was already in Africa. That's why you don't see Dan among the 10 tribes. That's also why you don't see Dan among the 144,000. Because the tribe of Dan was already migrated.
Yeah.
They was already down in Ethiopia. But guess what? God says in the book of Ezekiel that Dan is going to have land and a gate in the kingdom. So why these niggas don't have Dan on that lion chart?
That's the very reason why I'm asking you this question. I'm trying to figure that out.
They got their own gate, and they say they would have that land. Man, Qanath been saying that for years, because they keep saying they only go to Revelation and see Dan out there. They teach that Dan was an adder unto the tribes, because it says
that's a lie.
But it wasn't.
Listen, bro. When you deal with history, right? So when you don't have these dudes like scholarship, biblical scholarship. When you deal with history, the tribe of Dan did not want to fight against the tribe of Judah. So they decided to leave. So they migrated down to Ethiopia because the Jews, our forefathers always had a history of going into Africa. From Abraham to Jacob, they always had a history going down there. Why in the hell they want to get on some damn ships and come all the way over to the Western Hemisphere, not knowing where they're going, with salt water? They can't drink no damn salt water for thousands of miles. With millions of people.
Well, no, you just proved they they walked on land. So I guess they, like I say, dug that boat through the dirt and drank the dirt. I don't know.
Yeah, they drug the boat through the dirt. But see, these Negroes thought, oh, Dan went to idols. Guess what? All the tribes went to idols. Dan was the only tribe, but Dan migrated. That's why they're not among the 144,000. Why? It's because during the time of Herod, when Christ was born, Herod killed thousands of babies from all the tribes except for Dan. Because Dan had migrated. That's why Dan is not mentioned among the 144,000, which is the 144,000 that was slain and murdered by Herod the Great.
Good.
On the account of Christ. All of those babies were slaughtered and murdered on the account of the Messiah. And the reason why you don't see Dan among the 144,000 is because the tribe of Dan was not in the region. That's why.
Right. And we're going into another lesson, because I don't want to go people, I ain't going to say go people in, because it's trying to be proud. But a lot of what we're going to go over is going to show you that a lot of the 144,000 is them children when they were trying to search out Christ.
Yep.
Right?
That's why it says, that's why the scripture says they are the first fruits unto Christ. The 144,000 is the first fruits unto Christ, is because they was murdered on the account of Christ.
And that's why he said the kingdom of heaven is like unto a little child when he was telling the disciples.
Right, exactly.
Right. That's why he said that, a small child. And they was thinking about
exactly.
Right.
So all these innocent male babies were slaughtered and murdered because they were looking for one child. They were looking for one baby.
These Negroes tell you that they the part of the 140.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Let's continue, right? Let's go. So one more time, right? Recap. Verse 6 says they departed on foot when they was taken to captivity. When you jump back into verse 5 says that God is going to gather them from the west. Now we know it's talking about Africa. That's what it's talking about. Let's go to let's see where I want to go now. Let's see here. Let's go to Hosea 11. Yeah, look, Hosea 11. Cause we want to stay too long, right? You guys got something to do?
No, you good. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Let's go to Hosea 11.
Bring it out. Listen, we didn't already killed. We done already killed it, so you can just finish it. You know.
Okay.
Stick the fork in them. You know.
Yeah, Isaiah 11. Hosea 11. When we get there, somebody start reading verse 8. We're gonna read verse 8 through 11.
I don't have that book. No, I don't have that book.
Hosea 11.
But I'll look it up.
Yehuda, what you want? Hosea 11 and what?
Start reading at verse 8.
Verse 8. Hosea chapter 11 and verse 8. How shall I give thee up, Ephraim? How shall I deliver thee, Israel? How shall I make thee as Admah? How shall I set thee as Zebulun? My heart is turned with me. My repentings are kindled together.
God says, even though I sent the nation of Israel into captivity, how can I give you up? That's why I say God had not put away, he did not put away Dan. The scripture say God had not put away his people. So why Dan ain't on that damn lion-ass chart? Keep reading, brother. Read verse 9.
Come, verse 9. I will not execute the fierceness of my anger. I will not return to destroy Ephraim. I am God and not man, the Holy One in the midst of thee, and I will not enter into the city.
Read verse 10.
Verse 10. They shall walk after the Lord. He shall roar like a lion.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Before you read verse 10, somebody go back to Baruch. Go back to Baruch 5, somebody, and hold your spot at verse 5. Read verse 10. Read verse 10 again. Somebody go back to Baruch 5, and my brother, read verse 10 one more time. Hosea 11, verse 10.
Hosea 11 and verse 10. They shall walk after the Lord. He shall roar like a lion. When he shall roar, then the children shall tremble from the west.
They shall tremble from who?
They shall tremble from the west.
Somebody go back to Baruch and read verse 5 again. Baruch 5.
5 and 5. Arise, O Jerusalem, and stand on high, and look about towards the east, and behold, thy children gather from the west.
They gather from the west, Qanath. They gather from the west. They gather from the west. Baruch witness is the witness to our Hosea 11. Read verse 10 one more time, my brother. Hosea 11.
You want a verse 11?
No, read verse 10.
All right, come. I'll read 10. They shall walk after the Lord. He shall roar like a lion. When he shall roar, then the children shall tremble from the west.
It just said they shall tremble from the west. Just as it says in Baruch. They shall come from the west. Let's see what the west is, my brother. Read verse 11.
Verse 11. They shall tremble as a bird out of Egypt.
Out of who?
Egypt.
Did not God says in Isaiah 11 that the seven, so he's going to make the seven streams so they can go through easy?
Exactly.
Which also lines up with 2nd Esdras when God says, I'm going to stir the springs again.
Precepts killing them. Killing them. Straight daggers.
Witnesses on top of witnesses on top of witnesses.
Ain't none of them gonna come over here and say nothing. Ain't none of them gonna come over here and say nothing. They're gonna wait to see. Is we gonna fall? Nobody wanna come over here and open their damn mouth.
My brother, continue reading verse 11. Read the rest of verse 11.
Come. And as a dove out of the land of Assyria, and I will place them in their houses. Yeah.
It says, like a dove out of the land of Assyria. Why? Because this is the second gathering after they built the second temple, led by Zerubbabel, and then Ezra, Nehemiah. And then God said he's also going to have his people come from the west, because God knew that the 10 tribes went into Africa. So they had to go back to the land to worship. They couldn't worship nowhere else. Only the Levites could do the sacrificial offerings. That's why it says, and God says, they shall bring mine offering in the book of Zephaniah.
And another witness to that he went into Africa is in the Babylonian Talmud. That
exactly.
Exactly. Is it right in my Babylonian Talmud that the
exactly
was exiled into Africa? It says that.
Witness on top of witness on top of witness. Let's go to Isaiah 49. We're gonna continue. We're just gonna continue, man. But we already proven that Levi and Benjamin were among the 10 tribes. Levi and Benjamin. Go ahead, Qanath.
Levi. No, I don't know. Can we get some folk? They getting folked up on the comment board.
How about that? How about that? Hey, Qanath, come on.
Let's go to Isaiah 49, right?
Bring it on. Isaiah, you want Isaiah 11:11 again?
No. We're going to Isaiah chapter 49.
Oh,
excuse me.
49. Which verse you want?
Read start at verse 8.
Verse 8 of Isaiah 49. This is Isaiah chapter 48 in verse 9. Thus says the Lord, in an acceptable time I have heard thee, and in a day of salvation, have I helped thee.
Stop right there. Stop. So God says, in a day of salvation. What does Christ's name mean in the Hebrew?
It means Savior.
He will save.
Savior, salvation. Exactly. Go ahead, brother. Continue.
And I will preserve thee and give thee for a covenant.
Stop. He said, stop. He's going to give thee for a covenant. How can God give somebody as a covenant? This is talking about none other than Christ right here. He's going to give thee, Christ, as a covenant of the people to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritage. Now, my brother, read verse 9. Read 9.
Verse 9. That thou mayest say to the prisoners, go forth to them that are in darkness. Show yourselves. They shall feed in thy ways, and their pastures shall be in all high places.
In all high places. When they came from Africa, from West Africa, what mountains is in West Africa? The Atlas Mountains. They had hills and all valleys and everything in West Africa. That's why you go back into the book of Baruch. We'll go back later, maybe. God says how he chopped down the trees. He cleared the pathway for Israel to return. So that's why it says here, they shall feed in the ways of their pastures and shall be in all high places. Read verse 10.
Verse 10.
Yes, sir.
They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. For he that have mercy on them shall... Stop right
there. God says when they return, he's not even going to make it too hot for them. He's going to make it, they travel to be comfortable. He said, I'm not even going to make it hot. I'm going to make a return to be comfortable.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Go ahead.
You said gangster lean that chart.
Hey, Sean, don't start laughing, man. Don't start. You gonna start me up, man. Hey, listen, and my brother, continue reading verse 10. Continue.
Even by the springs of water shall he guide them.
He said, guide them by the springs of who?
By the springs of water shall he guide them.
Qanath. Did not God say in the second Esdras, he's going to stay the springs again?
Yes.
And then we just showed he made the rivers go to 7 streams in Egypt so they can pass through easy.
The precepts is so many daggers. It's just, there's no way.
Read verse 11. Verse 11, my brother. Read verse 11. I didn't mean to cut you off, Shoshan.
Stop doing it. It's over. Stop doing it. Come on. Somebody just throw the towel, man. It's done. You need to keep going. It's over. Throw the towel. The fight is over. 30-second knockout. F.O.P.E. That's the hell I want to just finish. Run the side. Run away. Oh, it's done. It's done. You can't come back from it.
And that's what you call correct studying. When each chapter verse you read, you always got a witness to back it up.
There's nothing you can do. You can't get around it. It's over. Over.
You can find this in the second book of Baruch also.
It's finished,
right?
man.
It's another book.
It's done.
Baruch talks about how we're going to pass over easy, how the Most High, and it talks about how I believe there's somewhere in the Apocrypha about how the water is going to be on our face like dew.
Hey, Manny,
Right.
So yeah.
Manny, when we done, come on the show then. Since it's this laughable, I bet you won't come on here because you won't get your ass smoked up. Come on the show when we finish. Come on and prove it. Prove it.
Now, he ain't got to come on here. We doing that. We doing our thing. Let them damn demons. Let the dead bury the dead. Okay, Yehuda.
My brother, read verse 10. Isaiah 49, verse 10. One more time.
Isaiah chapter 49 and verse 10. They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. For he that hath mercy on them shall lead them. Even by the springs of water shall he guide.
Read verse 11 and 12.
Verse 11 and 12 of Isaiah in the 49th chapter. And the read from his wise. And I will make all my mountains a way.
All my mountains. Wait. God said, I will make all my mountains a way for them to return. Continue.
And my highways shall be exalted.
And my highways shall be what?
My highways shall be exalted.
Keep your hold this spot right there, my brother. Let's go to Baruch 5 real quick. Let me read something. Let's go to Baruch 5. Baruch 5. Everybody go with me to Baruch 5. I'm going to read verse 6 to 8. It says, "For they departed from thee on foot and were led away captive of their enemies. But God brought them unto thee, exalted with glory, as the children of the kingdom." But look what it says here. Verse 7. "For God has appointed that every high hill and banks of long continuance should be cast down, the valleys," he says, "filled up to make even the ground, that Israel may go safely in the glory of God."